YouTube, we are back. Now, after a few days hiatus from long-form content, I have decided to make a return to the chess world with a very special video. Okay, if you're struggling to hit 1500 elo, this video is for you, okay? We all hit plateaus in chess, we all hit a wall, and it's all about breaking through that wall, okay? Like flying your face first through it. It's actually a lot simpler than it sounds, okay? Now, there are a lot of, milestones in chess. 1000 elo is probably fair to say the first one. Maybe like 500 or 1000, like somewhere in that bracket. And the key to getting those is just don't hang your pieces, you know what I mean? Like, just don't blunder a piece. And it's quite similar to reach 1500. It's a case of, don't blunder. But it's a different kind of blunder, right? Because nobody at 1500 is going to hang their queen. I mean, maybe in like the 0.0001% of time. But like, generically speaking, no one's hanging their queen, you know? So what sort of blunders am I talking about? Well, I'm actually talking about don't hang any tactics for your opponent, okay? And it sounds a lot easier than it is, right? Because we all miss skewers, we all miss like a Greek gift. How do we eliminate this? Well, it's actually with something called the 50-50 rule, okay? So as much time as I spend thinking about my moves, I spend thinking about my opponent's moves and why the move might benefit my opponent. So I got 3 games for you beautiful people today. I'm going to be talking you through all 3 games in which I've played and crushed my opponent, who will sit at around 1500 elo or somewhere in that sort of bracket. And yeah, we're going to go through it. So first game, black pieces, okay, and the game starts with e4 and d5. So I love the Scandinavian at the moment. I definitely recommend honing in on very specific openings and just grinding through, just learning them, okay? Just repetition, repetition, repetition. Game review, game review, game review. Learn your openings, people. We get pawn takes, okay? Now this is very normal looking. There are so many options here, okay? I could just recapture with the queen and go into like a mainline Scandinavian. I could play the modern variation with knight f6. I could play the move c6 even, which looks insane, just giving away yet another pawn, but it does actually work. I opt for the modern variation 9 times out of 10. They play knight c3, which I believe is like the Alekhine's defense. It's not very good, I don't think, personally, because I take the pawn, and, well, taking back here, it's not a mistake, but you definitely lose all your advantage if you are white. Like, in this position, you just want to play, like, bishop c4. But they take, and so I just take the queen. And the reason this isn't so good is because I now have a queen in the centre of the board, and the only way you can attack it is by playing a move like c4. But after, like, queen e4 check, things get really uncomfortable for white. So you definitely don't ever want to play the move c4 in this position. Opponent just plays the move knight to f3, which is fine. It's, completely normal looking. I play the move bishop to g4. This is like the pin variation. You pin the knight to the queen. Bishop e2. And then I play the move e6. I probably should have just developed my knight first, but that's okay. They short castle. Bishop to d6. c4. Now, you got to think, why is this good for my opponent? Well, it attacks my queen and they take space. They control some very strong squares in the centre of the board. What can I do? Well, I can play the move queen to h5, actually, which looks kind of insane, but I'm just putting as much pressure over here and here as possible, okay? Maybe threatening some sort of checkmate. So my opponent has to be very careful here. They have to think, what is the idea behind queen h5? And my opponent, being 1500, of course, saw this very basic setup of taking the knight, they recapture, and then checkmate. It's a very common pattern, okay? Do your puzzles, people. g3 is played. This looks absolutely horrific, so I just develop. Very normal looking move. Bring my other pieces into the attack. d4 is played, and then I just go ahead and long castle. I just say, you know what? I'm going to prepare an absolute attack on the king side here. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. Opponent here plays the move c5. Now, this is a very odd move, okay? And this is what I mean. You have to be aware of your opponent's tactics. So why might this be a bad move for white? Obviously, it attacks my bishop, okay? And my bishop can't move to any of these squares, so I can't progress forwards. But you should always look for sort of tactics where you just take the pawn. Because, like, what does my opponent do if I just take this pawn? You might say, well, they just recapture. Well, then you lose a queen. So you always have to look for these sort of tactics instead of just immediately thinking, oh god, I've got to go back, this is so passive, what the hell. You can sometimes just take the pawn, and there's nothing white can do here. So they play rook e1, I then just play knight takes on d4, and in this position I'm just completely winning. And I haven't done anything crazy, have I? My opponent just wasn't aware of my tactics. So you have to be aware. They have to think, why might this be good for my opponent? We get a trade in the centre. I recapture with the rook, because now I attack the queen, so gaining yet another tempo. They play queen to c2. I then play bishop takes on e2 because, well, that's just an equal trade, and I'm up material. So when you're up material, you just want to trade everything off. I then bring my other rook over to double stack on the d file. Maybe have some tactics like this with back rank mate. Bishop e3 is played, and then I play rook to d5. We get bishop f4. This is a pretty dangerous diagonal for the bishop to be on. So although I'm up, 2 pawns, it's like, well, it's not entirely clear. My opponent has some really good counterplay here that I do need to be very, very careful of. Here I just play queen to h3. And I just sort of think to myself, I may have some back rank mate threats at some stage in this game. You just never know. Opponent plays rook to c1, double stacking with the queen, and this puts a lot of pressure on my bishop. But my logic is they're not going to take my bishop with the queen first, because then I'd just win their queen, and they'd lose the exchange. So I play the move rook to h5. Just putting as much pressure on my opponent's king as humanly possible. Now here, they need to play a move like g4. And the reason g4 is good is you might be thinking, well, you just take with check. I do, yeah, but at least the bishop defends on h2, so it is fine. They could always play like bishop g3 to block that check. So they do find this move g4. So I, of course, take with check. They block with a bishop, so exactly what we just spoke about. And here I play the move rook to d5, lifting my other rook into the attack. Opponent just plays a3. And I just sort of thought, like, what is the point? Like, you're under so much pressure, why waste a tempo playing a3? Like, I really couldn't wrap my head around the idea behind a3. So I just played this absolutely beautiful looking move, rook takes on h2. And again, my opponent just wasn't aware of my tactics, right? Because, like, sure, they can recapture with the king, but then my other rook's going to swing over and combine with my queen for like some sort of checkmate at some stage. We have a dark square bishop pinning this pawn as well. So now that I've taken, I have ideas of taking this bishop at some point. It's really, really scary for my opponent. You cannot allow me to be able to take on h2 like that. So again, a3, just a horrible move by my opponent just because they're not aware of the tactics. King takes, rook comes over to h5, the king goes to g2. So I, of course, just play queen h3 check. They come this way, rook to f5 check, king e4, and then we have queen g4, and eventually we do have checkmate. So I calculated all of that, and I don't expect everyone to be able to see that from, the move a3. But you have to be aware that, look how many pieces I have ready to pounce on this attack. Like, you have to be aware that there's going to be something in the position. Like top GMs are always saying, you can just feel when there's something. You just feel it. Like, there's so many pieces in the attack. You just have to be aware. But that was an absolutely disgusting sequence by me. So I was just sort of showing you guys this. But again, like, my opponent never hung a piece. Like, there was never any crazy blunder. But it's just tactics, man. It's just that repetition. So that's game number 1 for you beautiful people. Game number 2, we actually have the white pieces this time. Okay, also, shout out Crystal Palace, by the way. I know a few of you have been looking at this top. Mwah. South London and proud. This is my football team. Guys, comment down below. If you follow football, comment down below your team. Or soccer. I don't want to offend anyone, okay? Or NFL, baseball. Let me know your team, your sport, what you like. And if you don't like sport... Okay, e4. Opponent plays e6. This is the French defense, of course. I then play d4, looking just to take the center. d5 is played. E takes on d5. E takes on d5. And the whole e-file is open. Okay, this is all theory, okay? There's nothing crazy to unpick here. This is all normal. I play knight to f3. Opponent plays knight to f6. And here, c4. This is all book moves still. Nothing crazy. This is known as the Monte Carlo variation. Like, you just immediately challenge the center. It's a really aggressive opening. And it creates so much imbalance. So, if you're like Will Taylor Chess and you chase imbalance. Shout out Will Taylor Chess, by the way. I've been watching this channel for so long. It's just the most beautiful attacking chess on planet Earth. Chase Imbalance was his most recent video, by the way. Then play the Monte Carlo variation. Opponent here plays bishop to e7, which again, all book moves. I play knight to c3, c6, this is all still theory, bishop to e3, and short castles from my opponent. Now, best move for me here was bishop to d3, but I played bishop to e2. The difference is very minute, it's nothing crazy, but this is just a more aggressive diagonal for my bishop to be on. Opponent here plays h6, but my advice to people that are worse than me at chess, because I would not dare insult those that are above me, would be never to move any of these free pawns after castling unless you have to, right? Don't create imbalance unless it's absolutely necessary, because at some stage in this game I might play queen d2, I might play bishop up, and I might just threaten just to sacrifice my bishop and just rip open your king. And it's like, you have no reason here to play h6, right? Like, bishop or knight jumping in here, there's no threat, there is nothing there. You do not need to play this move h6. Just a very weird rant from me there. I just short castle, opponent plays rook to e8, very natural looking move, queen d2. So like I said, they've created a hook, right? And at some stage I'm probably going to sacrifice my bishop, and it's going to be, well, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, okay? Opponent here plays bishop to g4, I then just play h3. See, it was provoked. I had a need to play h3, this is the best move. If you take, I take. I'm probably just winning, so my opponent here plays a move bishop to h5. In this position, again, I just have g4, but I'm not a psychopath. I did not play g4, I just played bishop to d3. And now the eval bar doesn't like it, you can see it goes all the way down to -1, but the idea here is now just to sack, and then I'm going to have a bishop dominating the light squares around the king. Opponent plays bishop takes on f3, I then take, and that's why the eval bar didn't like it, because now my king is opened up. But my logic is I'm going to play king h2, and I'm going to get a rook on this open g file. And it's like, how the hell are you stopping any of this? Like, I'm sure with perfect play you probably could, but like, what the hell am I even looking at here? Like, we might even trade like this, and I'll bring my knight to the attack as well. Like, look at these arrows. If you're black, in this position, if you ever reach a position like this, I recommend just like getting under your desk and just crying. Like, just don't even play it, just like go cry somewhere, because this is horrific. Opponent here plays king to f8, I just sack, you know, because if you do take my bishop now, the game is done. Like, it is actually just done. And my opponent does do that, you know. So, like, again, the only reason I'm winning this game is because my opponent is completely unaware of all the tactics I have, because this is just checkmate. I mean, obviously you can play knight g7 and block, but then it's mate. You know, like, it's... My opponent is just completely oblivious to any tactic I might have. So it's a horrible game from them. But, you know, this happens to everyone. It happens to me. I need to be way more conscious of what my opponent has. But, you know, it's so hard in the moment to think, what's my opponent got? Because we get so fixated on, where's my attack, where's my attack? You know, chess is a two-player game. Game number 3 though, you beautiful people. If you haven't already, please drop a like on the video. You know, this video is single-handedly getting you to 1500 elo, so I'd be very grateful. White pieces again. I, of course, play e4. I'm an e4 player. None of this d4 malarkey. What the hell do you lot take me for? Opponent here plays d5. Sorry, quick sip of tea. And in this position I thought, you dare play my own weapon against me. The Scandinavian is mine, okay? I've claimed it. It's my favourite opening. E takes on d5, queen takes, knight c3, and queen a5. This is the main line of the Scandinavian. It's beautiful looking. You then have to play d4 if you're white, which is, of course, just really natural look. I'm sure, what would you play otherwise? Like, maybe like bishop c4, but d4, take the centre, open up your dark squared bishop, get ready to just launch an attack, develop everything. It's going to be beautiful. Opponent here plays c6. Now, this is a very common line in the mainline Scandinavian, because the idea is to create some retreating squares for your queen, because a lot of the time in bullet, people will play like bishop d2 and look to just like move the knight and hope they don't see the queens hanging, you know, like a bit of hope chess. So you need to create some squares for the queen to retreat to. I play knight to f3, opponent plays bishop to f5, we then play bishop to d2, looking to maybe attack the queen, knight goes to f6, and here I actually have some cool moves. For example, knight h4 can be played in this position, because like you're just looking to win the bishop, dominate the squares in which it situates itself on. As well, you have like knight e4, but in this position I just play the move bishop to c4, which is the top engine line. No need to do anything too crazy. Opponent plays e6, this is all still theory, and then I play this move knight to d5, which again is still all theory, and the reason is because now I have a bishop here, this can't be taken, and my dark square bishop is opened up. Luckily my opponent is, you know, they're a Scandinavian player. They know about this main line. They, of course, just retreat all the way back. The reason this is also good is because, I don't know, let's say you just play something stupid like this. Well, then I have this move, where I actually have bishop to b3 first. Just dropping back, attacking the queen. But, you know, the idea is to fork the king and the rook. So opponent has to go all the way back to d8. And then I just play the move knight to e3, so I reposition my knight to attack the bishop, so they drop back, and then I short castle. All very normal looking stuff. We get bishop to d6, rook to e1, this is all just very, very normal looking stuff, nothing too crazy as of yet. Knight to d7, and then bishop c3, queen c7, they set up a battery. So, you know, this is always in the back of my mind now, like, okay, they may have some tactics on h2. You just got to recognise the pattern, be aware of it as you're playing the game. Of course, currently, I have a knight and king defending h2, so it's, you know, there's no threat as of yet. But it's something to be very well aware of, and I'm always thinking, okay, is there a way to neutralise this threat? Because if I get rid of this, then my opponent has nothing, do they? They just have a bunch of developed pieces not really coordinating together. Like, my pieces do a really good job currently of dominating the centre, right? Like, that's what my pieces are doing. Dominating the centre, even with the queen and the rook. So that's where my attack lies, in the middle of the board. My opponent, not so much, you know, this is all they really have. So if I find a way to neutralise that, there's nothing. Here my opponent plays a5, so I just play a4. No, I don't, I play knight to c4. I was looking at the top engine line thinking I'm Magnus Carlsen. I play knight to c4. Basically, my plan is to, like I said, neutralise this threat, because then they have nothing. Opponent plays a4, so I take this bishop with check first, and it also opens up squares for my bishop to retreat to. Queen, of course, recaptures, and then I play bishop to c4. They then play b5, my bishop, of course, just drops back, offering a trade. Opponent plays bishop to h5, and then I play queen d2. Now, I understand, the engine is going to hate me opening up my g-file, but I never have an issue with it. Bishop takes, I take, and the reason I don't have an issue with it is because, like, these pieces, they can't really coordinate to make an attack on my king as of yet, and I have time to play king h1, bring a rook over, and I'm going to be fine. Here my opponent plays the move knight to d5, attacking me, so I play a3. Now, the idea behind a3 was to basically negate any pawn pushes that the knight now reinforces, as well as the queen, of course, because, you know, I don't want any shenanigans here. Opponent then plays knight to f4. Now, this is not good. This is like the start of their undoing, and the reason this isn't good is because you lose complete control over this b4 square, so I can, of course, just seize control of it and dominate your queen here, and it's really uncomfortable for black. They play queen c7, best move. Rook e4, I now attack your knight. Knight takes on d3, so I of course just recapture. And here my opponent plays c5, which is just an absolutely horrid move. And my opponent, again, they were just so tunnel vision, you know. They were thinking, oh, okay, well, look how many pieces I have, you know, protecting this square. Like, I'm just going to win the bishop here. But you're not, because you limited your calculation just to that one line where we trade everything off. But that's not going to happen. Like, I might take the pawn initially, but then after knight takes, you know, of course if I played into this, then it's, you know, completely fine for black and there's no issue. But why would I do that? Like, my opponent just completely missed this check. You know, queen b5 check. And now it's literally over for black. Like, the game is going, you've lost, you know? All because of one pawn. You just completely miscalculated. And again, it's just a case of people missing tactics. There's nothing crazy going on when I'm playing these 1500s. You know, they're not Magnus Carlsen dominating the board and just winning all my pieces. Chances are they're going to miss some tactics. Knight d7. But now I just bring my rook over, and it's like, how on earth are you defending all of this, Like, it's actually impossible, right? Like, how on earth do you hang on here? My opponent thought it'd be a good idea to long castle. Now, I understand the rationale is, well, I can't short castle because, you know, the dark square bishop blocks. But that doesn't make long castling a good move, and again, they've completely missed a tactic of rook c4. And I'm just winning your queen. You can't move your queen. The best move here is, like, knight b6, which is actually a really fun idea. It's like takes, and I guess they're hoping I just, like, hang my rook somehow. But I just play something like queen c5 check, I guess. But the game ended after this move, rook to c4, because my opponent knew he was losing his queen. So guys, that's how you beat 1500s, right? You just do your puzzles, and you just become hyper fixated on your opponent's tactics, as well as your own, of course. Don't negate your own gameplay just because you're so fixated on your opponent. But, you know, you've got to be aware of what your opponent's doing. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, I would be so appreciative if you could smash a like, comment and subscribe. Check out some other videos on the channel. We upload shorts daily. Videos, long form we try to be daily, but it tends to be like 5 or 6 a week, so more or less daily. But guys, subscribe if you're new, stick around. I know you'll love this channel. Goodbye.